Ladies and gentlemen, it's a MAGA party. We got George, a.k.a. Black Chocolate, a.k.a. Be Easy here today. And we're going to talk about, we got just, less than 290 days before the election. We got the Democrats going crazy. The political witch hunts are not doing them any favors. Stormy Daniels, I mean, she's looking like a horse face. George, how you been?
I'm doing good. You know, for a second, I read that title and I thought it said George just fixed 2020. I was like, what did I do? It was so, I was like, what did I do, man? I didn't do nothing. Yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. We just did a show yesterday on Frank's speech, which was a really, really good show. If you didn't watch that, watching this show right now, you got to go watch that. But man, it was a powerful show.
It was a good show. I liked it. I loved it. I loved talking about the more spiritual aspect of, what's happening in the world. Mm-hmm. But let's talk before we go into predictions and all the crazy stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, give this video a thumbs up, share it. YouTube doesn't like us, but you do. So like the video. Georgia, what's happening there? Share a little bit before we watch the video from your Twitter page.
Wow. So the state election board finally decided to hold a hearing to hear about all these findings. And then they invited the Secretary of State, who did their own independent investigation. Brad Raffensperger. I'm sure that guy's not a crook. So they brought their own investigators in, and really their investigators were dumb. They couldn't answer any questions. I wouldn't say dumb. I'd say they were just corrupt. Because if you did nothing wrong and you held something that was safe and secure, you would have confidence talking about it. They were saying a lot of, I don't know, we don't know. And they admitted that Fulton County lacked so many things in regards to chain of custody, and they couldn't give definitive answers, to the point where one of the board members actually just said, all right, let's inspect the physical ballots. And by the way, Fulton County confirmed that they preserved those ballots from the voter GA lawsuit. Now, Vlad, you probably remember Garland Favorito and voter GA from a few years ago. They were in court trying to inspect the absentee ballots, 147,000 of them from Fulton County in 2020. The judge, Brian Amiro, was doing so well. He was giving them discovery. He was, fair. He was, suggesting that if you believe the election is not fair, you should see the ballots. So that lawsuit was doing well, all this discovery. And then out of nowhere, Judge Amiro, first of all, Fulton County hired like a bunch of defense attorneys, like high-powered lawyers from across the country, and they filed a motion to dismiss on standing, which made no sense. The case has been going on. The judge clearly didn't believe it should have been dismissed. Then out of nowhere, Judge Amiro did a 180 like he was freaking compromised, like Mike Johnson, and dismissed the case. And then it goes to the Georgia Court of Appeals, and the Georgia Court of Appeals agrees with Judge Amiro. And then it goes to the Georgia Supreme Court, and the Georgia Supreme Court says, actually, voters have standing to sue and challenge results, which was a monumental decision. And then it goes back to the trial courts. And so they sent the case back to Judge Amiro, but Judge Amiro was like, hey, I don't want to hear this. So he sent it to another judge, and that judge has held on to that case for 500 days and hasn't had a hearing. A case that was sent back to him by the Georgia Supreme Court. It's been 500 days, Vlad, almost over a year. Well over a year. So now we're here with the Georgia election board. It's going to be really interesting. But that video is a powerful moment because you have someone in a position of power saying exactly what we've been saying, right? And I love how she was able to just shush the other side.
Yep. So
you gonna play?
It's yeah. Okay, there we go.
So those are the Secretary of State investigators.
Yep.
I'm trying to get to the point of finding evidence that 17,852 ballots actually exist. So there either need to be ballot images or we need to go look at the ballots, the paper ballots.
Well, that
It's
was,
very simple.
As I explained at the beginning, we have the paper ballots. The paper ballots exist. There's no 17,000 missing ballots. The discrepancy, the 17,000 discrepancy was because of that scanner error, the programming error in the scanner that got corrected. The results were recertified and re-reported, and that accounted for the 17,000 difference. There was no missing ballots. Like I said, we have hand counted every single ballot.
Great. Can we? Then let's look at the paper ballots.
Yeah. There we go.
And then boom, no one's saying nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing.
it's a very simplistic, but it proves and shows exactly what's been going on for 4 years in this country. You have a person that's interested in the truth, and then you have the opposite, a person that, oh, I can hear myself, Vlad. I don't know how that's possible. But now I can't hear myself, so something must have changed.
I
So,
just
but then
turned
you have
down
a
my
person-
volume on my end. That's it.
You have a person who's like an agent of the Matrix. I know you've probably watched that movie like 50
Oh, yeah.
billion times, but you have Agent Smith and these agents, and their whole thing is to protect the system. And that's what these people are from the Secretary of State's office. They're the people that protect the system. And so they're there trying to deflect all the shots and try to shoot back and gaslight. But Neo's like, no, I want to get to this point and understand the world I'm living in. So that lady was like, all right, well, whatever you're saying, cool. You've been saying that for 4 years. Let's look at the ballots, right? Let's look at the physical evidence. Let's see what the murder knife says. If it has blood on it, then we know there was murder. So, yeah, it's a very simplistic yet aggressive way of dealing with these crooks. I'm really happy she had that conversation with them.
Do you think they're going to see them?
Well, according to Fulton County, they preserved them per court orders, but we'll see. I'm not going to ever allege that Fulton County has been fair in any regard whatsoever, but you never know, bro. You never know. I think, let's say they did preserve them. Something tells me they could have messed with the chain of custody, or they could have done a little switcheroo. We don't know yet until we look at them. And all Garland and his team needs is a camera, a scanner to scan all those images, all those ballots, and identify any fictitious ballots, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing my words out here, man. I'm out here tripping.
But here's the interesting. Now, when we're looking at all the stuff that's being discovered, that's being found, it's the timing. The timing is very interesting, right? Because everyone was like, "All right, 2020 is over. Just let's try to we got to do whatever we can, all in for 2024," and then here we go, right? 300 days till the election, less. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, in all these states, you're seeing some moves. Georgia's the big one, right? But then we have Pennsylvania, who had that huge victory to where, hey, remember, they changed the law for 2020. If there's no date on the ballot or it's dated past the election, count it. They're like, you can't do that.
Yeah, so that was actually a pretty big decision, because if that eliminates 10% of their shenanigans, then we have a real good chance of overwhelming them. But you said something really important there. We're 6 months away from November 5th. 170 days now, maybe 175. I don't know, but that's not a long time yet. All this information's coming out. And I think what it's doing is it's forcing their hand. Now they're feeling like, whoa, what? We have to be more careful. And, in Wisconsin, Claire Woodall, like this chick who was the clerk in Milwaukee, this is the clerk that was laughing. The emails show her laughing and, with someone else about how she came up with just the right margin at midnight. This is the clerk. This is the most disgusting person in Wisconsin. And she was fired. Now, a bunch of people are like, well, she should be, charged and all of these things. Look, she was fired by the Democrat mayor. So he's never going to actually prosecute one of his own. But more importantly, she's experienced in pulling these shenanigans off on election night. But if you have someone new who's just in there, they still need time to learn the system. So the best news is we don't have the kingpin of the shenanigan operation. We have someone new who might mess up. That's the hope. So Wisconsin now looks like a state we can really look at and try to push for. Now, Georgia for sure will vote for Trump and will be red in November. Brian Kemp just signed 3 election bills. I mean, this guy is so funny. He's such a buffoon. Because one, he's corrupt, but then he's also a buffoon. Because if you're corrupt, just be full on corrupt. Don't be half and half. Because this guy, was off on how it was safe and secure, yet his own office confirmed Joe Rosie's findings, which, revealed anything but the fact that it was safe and secure. And then he signs every election integrity bill that comes across his desk. If he thought everything that happened in his state was fair and secure and it was so safe, why is he trying to change it? Why is he signing bills into law to change it? And by the way, the 3 bills he signed, I mean, it has things like all the absentee ballots, the mail-in ballots have to be counted by 8 p.m. on election night.
Dude, that is dude.
That's actually huge because
that is, I covered that. Like the moment that story broke, I went live and went through every detail, and I'm like, this is what we want across every state. Right. And my prediction is, and I'm sticking to my prediction, there are going to be states on election night that are going to shock the country. Even Republicans are going to be like, we just won. I mean, Minnesota, people are sick and tired of the BS, of the shenanigans. And now this stuff, right? This goes back to, I want to go back to January when I was at Kingdom Domain Conference. I met Samuel Rodriguez, the dude that prayed at Trump's inauguration. He's a pastor out of Sacramento, California. He's still one of Trump's close friends. I sat down with him, had some coffee, and I'm like, what do you think is going to happen in the election? Now, this dude, some people, when they say, the Lord told me, you're like, sure. Sometimes they say it, they have such calmness in their eyes. You know that they truly believe what they said. They didn't just make it up. And he's like, we're going to have grace in this election. And every time I hear something like this happen, I'm like, 4 months ago when I was at Kingdom Domain and I was speaking to him, and when he said that, I was like, yeah, but now this is happening. That is happening. There's all these changes. Plus the Amish, first time in history, are registering to vote. It's huge. And really quickly for the audience, the lady that got fired in Wisconsin, she's the same lady. I believe she's the same lady that sent an email to her staff after 2020 saying, how do you like what I did? She printed a bunch of ballots in the middle of the night and then through email bragged about it.
Yeah, she's ridiculous. Wait, was that a question or a statement?
No, that was a statement. But to you, she's the one, right?
Yeah. She's Claire Woodall Vogue, which is a really odd name.
She's German.
That's not even the worst part, lad. So, well, the good news is Wisconsin voters passed 2 really critical measures. One was to ban Zuckerbucks. So the Republican legislature put those on the primary ballot. So that would have the effect in the election that's coming up. So one of the measures on the ballot was, do we ban private parties from funding election officials? That was Mark Zuckerberg. And the voters said yes. And then another one was, do we stop private parties from having access to any process, any electoral process? And the voters said yes, let's ban them. And the reason that measure even exists is because you had a guy, Michael Rubin Spitzer. Man, you gotta look this guy up. Have you seen his face?
No.
Okay, well, if I see it, you got to see it, man. Michael Spitzer Rubenstein is man. You'll look at this guy's face and be like, all right, I believe you did.
Michael, what was it?
Spitzer Rubenstein. Pull it up on the screen for everyone while you Google it, so it's like a first time reaction. So show your screen while you're Googling it.
Spitzer. How do you spell it?
All right, let me. I'll send you the spelling, but you got to pull it up on the screen so everyone in here.
Yeah, do that. Send me the spelling.
Yeah, I need all of you guys to be petrified, man. I need you to be terrified forever, horrified after you see this guy's face. That's the guy that was in Green Bay at a hotel running the election, and he's from an NGO, Democrat NGO. He's connected with Soros and all these bad actors. Like, that's that guy.
That dude is in charge of our elections?
Yes, from a hotel room in 2020. That's what he did.
I mean, I'm not the one to judge, right? You know what I mean? I'm not grade A, but oh my goodness.
No, look, see, here's the crazy thing. He could look better than this. He could go to the gym and his face can come in more, but that's the guy, ladies and gentlemen. That's the guy that is now responsible for Robinette Biden getting inside the White House. That's him, Michael Spitzer Rubenstein.
I mean, you know, that's a face even a mother might not love.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. He looks like, see, it's liberalism that makes people look like creeps, you know? It's the fact that you have nothing to look forward to in life and you're depressed all the time. So, it's just
and you're right. My second oldest niece, when she hit middle school, she became like super liberal, abortions, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Then for 3 years she was like that, dude, and you could tell like the way she dressed changed, her face. She was always depressed, and then she started going to church again. She repented, got baptized. She's super pro-life. She's always smiling. She's happy. She's full of energy. Like, she went from a good, kid to just like within a couple of months, just wearing all black, just depressed. Like, you feel that energy. And she was like super on the liberal, on the Democrat, Trump. Now she's not even old enough to vote yet. She's like, man, I can't wait. I wish I could vote for Trump. She's got another year. But you're right. What was the university that did a whole investigation, and they said that liberalism is a mental disorder.
Well, it certainly was a university that's full of leftists. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe PragerU did that poll or survey. But I mean, I think what they probably did was they looked at the universities with they looked at liberals as a collective and found that they probably had more mental illnesses than the right. Maybe that's what the study showed. But yeah, man, it is awfully bizarre. Did you see the latest thing from Arizona?
No, not yet. Really good.
Wow.
White liberals more likely to have mental problems.
Okay. Yeah, that's in line with what I thought.
Yeah, why depression rates are higher among liberals.
Because they're constantly like sad about things they can't control, but don't address the things they can control. So I mean, look, if you are fat and you happen to be depressed, I'm sorry, but I can't believe you acquired this disease that's incurable. Because you're who you are, you're fat.
Yeah.
You need to go to the gym and perhaps work on yourself to unfatten yourself. So, yeah, I really believe these things are very simplistic in nature to solve. Now, Vlad, so the Arizona story, you had it up on your Twitter on the side. I want you to click on it because I really enjoy talking about Abraham Hamaday. It's so funny, man. He is a rock star in the political world in Arizona. This is Vlad when the production. You need a producer, man. You need to hire some Indian guys.
No, that screen, I shut that down. It was gone. Is it on your page? Is it on your?
No, it's on like the trending section. It'll say something like Arizona, Abe Hamaday, Kerry Lake. Push forward. That's the name of the article. Man, hey, Elon Musk, I gotta say, Elon, I love what you're doing with this Grok summary thing. It's so good for stories, man. But I'll send, no, on the side, on Explore, you'll find it. On the trending section, Explore.
Okay. So click
The other, no, yes, there you go. See, there's a story, third on the list. Okay, so, all right, Abe Hamaday is a guy. Neil Johnson, I think it was Neil. Yeah, he sent me a video. Wait, might have been, was it you, Vlad, or Neil? I don't know.
Not me, Neil.
Yeah, okay. Or it might have been someone else. They sent me a video of Abe Hamaday in his first campaign ad, and it had like 100 views. And I was like, who is this guy? He was running for attorney general. I was like, who is he? He sounds too good to be true. He's saying everything I believe. And I was just like curious. So I looked him up, and well, he was a veteran, but he was really young. So what kind of veteran is this? Okay, he was an intelligence officer in the Army. Okay, I get curious. Then I look through and find out he worked with Ron Paul's campaign in 2012. So I get real curious. And then I send his name to a bunch of people I know in Arizona, and they start showing up to his rallies to meet him and see if he's authentic. Then they text me and they're like, this guy's the real deal. And then I get in touch with Abe, and I do an interview with him. And, you know, all the people in Arizona are like, oh, we watched the interview, Abe. Yeah. So this guy just kind of came out of nowhere, and people were like, is he on our side? Is he trustworthy? And he has proven himself, especially after the 2022 Attorney General election. So initially, Vlad, Abe lost by 511 votes, and then there was a hand recount in Pinal County, and he ended up losing by 280. So his loss shrank after a hand count, which is so funny. So the election was separated by 280 votes. It's the closest margin in Arizona election history for a statewide election, of course. And he challenged the race, and he said, hey, we still have other ballots to be counted. We need to keep fighting. And well, once more, you just, have this guy fighting and fighting and fighting, but no fruits coming out of his labor. All the courts keep shutting him down, and it's the closest race ever, and he has proof of all these things. And so we're waiting. And then we go to the appellate court. But before we went to the appellate court, the lower court judge, Lee Johnston, this guy just took forever to just rule on this case. He just said, all right, I made my ruling, but I'm not going to write it down. Before you appeal, you need to have a certified, nonverbal order, like a page to appeal. But this judge spent like 3 months and was like, I'm just not going to finalize my order, even though he already ruled on the case. It was so weird, almost like he was trying to waste time, take time off the clock. And then we get to the Arizona Court of Appeals, and they just swiftly go, we're not going to give you a new trial. So Abe is asking for the Arizona Supreme Court to look into his case again. I really hope so. And even the RNC is trying to help him. Because, look, if we can get Abe Hamaday in office, based on what I know about Abe, he and I talk, very briefly from time to time, man, Arizona would be red and safe and secure. It wouldn't even matter what Katie Hobbs does, because Abe would enforce the laws. And that's the scariest part for them. So they needed to pull the shenanigans they did.
And I travel to Arizona often. I'm moving there in a few months. Dude, I've out of all the Ubers I've taken and people I've met, I'd say almost 100 random people I've spoken to in the last 3 trips. Only 2 were Democrats who did not vote for Kari Lake and did not vote for Trump.
Yeah. 2 out of hundreds. Crazy.
It is, I'm telling you. And even the people that did, they were like more independent, but they were like brainwashed a little bit. Well, George, I appreciate your time, but I got to end it with this question. It's November 5th. Of course, you're not a prophet. At least maybe you are. You never told me. There's a lot of black prophets nowadays. But But November 5th, 2024, what do you think will be happening?
Well, I mean, you can't ever truly predict the future unless you have divine revelation. But I don't imagine the things we've gone through are for nothing, right? I mean, people are in jail fighting for their lives because of this stuff, because of what we believe took place back in 2020. So naturally, we have to get some sort of justice. It wouldn't be like God to allow injustice when actually the people didn't pick injustice. The people didn't pick this fraud, right? So we picked orange guy. So the hope is that God allowed the enemy to appear to win so that people can wake up. And I pray that Trump can win. Now, you look at the circumstances in the physical, it's depressing. You know, you have a lot of states that have done nothing. And even if you have good court rulings, you're terrified because it's not like these people follow the law. It's not like they follow court rulings. So the fear is they just ignore the court rulings. So my hope is that a commanding victory for Trump, and Trump needs to campaign everywhere and put his name in every city and every household and tell people they should vote for him. And, you know, they're forcing him to do that by bringing him to New York almost every day. Because for 4 days out of the week, he's in New York. I mean, he's forced to go and do something in New York every day. He has to campaign. And I got to say, that man's energy is different, Vlad.
Yeah.
Because at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., he's up. He'll go visit some union workers, go to trial, and then head off to visit some store in Harlem, and then end the day in Florida. I'm like, how'd you get there, man? Like, look, we get it. He has a private jet, but being on a plane is tiresome. Being in a car from the airport to Trump Tower, leave Trump Tower, like it's not an easy task. So for him to do that, and he's always at Mar-a-Lago, like I'm so confused.
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy. And I love what he is doing with Gen Z. All the Gen Z influencers and MAGA rappers are always hanging out at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, and
It's
Trump's just
great.
there. He's there at 12 a.m. and he has a trial at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like, bro, where are you going to sleep? On the plane? You know?
Crazy.
Oh,
But hey, that shows
yeah.
us that God is with him. He's 77 years old.
78.
70, yeah, I know people that are like 69, 70. They're like, oh, I got maybe a year to go. And then I'm like, look at Trump. They're
Yeah,
like, what
man.
about Biden?
Look, I hear people die at like 75. I'm like, yo, you died at Trump 77, about to be 78. What are you talking about? He's still stronger than ever. And then it's so funny. If God is not, first of all, I think God is humbling him through these lawsuits like E. Jean Carroll. And let me finish off with this. Think about this. Trump, as a man, was doing outrageous things. I mean, he was cheating on his wives, wives, man. He had a lot of them. And, you know, he was doing a lot of things. And I think, although none of the things he did were illegal against our secular law, God is still using these demon rats to, in a way, humble Trump, to bring him to humility. And that's amazing. And then, you know, you see Trump, he probably knows, man, none of the things I was doing as a husband were good, right? I was not a great man to my wives, but God is humbling him. And then God is also showing him that he has a grace. Look at the way they're trying to destroy his wealth. And the next day he gets like $5 billion added to his net worth.
Yeah.
Because of his, so it's a thing where God is using the rigged secular judicial system to humble Trump and show Trump that, hey, look, these things were not right. Because look, what a man sows, he reaps. So Trump sowed all of this stuff. He took pictures of Stormy Daniels. Like, whether or not he slept with her is a question for another day. But he was with her, like he was in her vicinity, you know. And there's other Playboy women that, you know, he knows from his past. So these things humble him. But the fact that he's still able to go, all right, well, God's grace is still, like, he's still thanking God at rallies. He's still invoking the name of Christ. It's working. It's working. And so his second term is all about God using him to bring vengeance. And, you know, people say vengeance is the Lord's. Yes, but God uses man to do it. So it's going to be really fun after Trump wins.
It's like the King Nebuchadnezzar. God raised him up to humble the Israelites. In the end, the Israelites took down King Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, go subscribe to Firebrand Media on YouTube. That's George's channel. Give this video a thumbs up and share it. We're out.